What if the greatest architectural marvels of the ancient world were not built with brute force alone, but with a profound understanding of the Earth's hidden energies? For centuries, we've looked at structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza or the towering stones of Stonehenge and marveled at their scale. But what if we've been missing the real story behind their creation? What if ancient builders didn't just drag these massive stones into place, but instead knew how to work with the planet itself, tapping into forces we're only now beginning to measure and understand? This idea might sound like something out of a science fiction novel, but emerging research suggests it could be closer to the truth than we ever imagined. We're about to explore the compelling theory of magnetic monuments, the possibility that ancient civilizations detected and harnessed Earth's magnetic fields, ley lines, and natural energies to achieve what seems, even today, almost impossible. From the precise placement of Egyptian obelisks to the resonant stones of Incan temples, there are clues hidden in plain sight that point toward a forgotten science, one that blended spirituality, astronomy, and a deep connection to the living Earth. This isn't just a story about how stones were cut or moved, it's about why they were placed where they were, and what those choices reveal about a lost world of knowledge and intuition. Join me on a journey that will take us across time and continents, from the deserts of Egypt to the green plains of England, as we piece together evidence that could reshape everything we thought we knew about human history. We'll look at cutting-edge scientific studies, revisit ancient myths with fresh eyes, and ask questions that challenge conventional archaeology. By the end of this exploration, you may never look at an ancient monument the same way again, because what if these structures were not just tombs or temples, but powerful devices designed to channel the very energy of the Earth? Let's begin. To truly appreciate the possibility that ancient builders worked with the planet's own energy, we first need to understand the invisible force they might have tapped into. Envision our planet not as a solid, static ball of rock, but as a dynamic, living entity with a powerful heart. Deep within the Earth's core, a swirling ocean of molten iron and nickel churns and circulates, and this immense movement generates a massive magnetic field that envelops the entire globe. This isn't a simple, symmetrical bubble. It's a complex, ever-shifting web of energy. Think of it less like a perfect sphere and more like the intricate, pulsing patterns you see in a magnetic field visualization, with lines of force flowing from pole to pole in a great protective shield. This magnetic field is far from uniform. It has stronger areas, weaker spots, and fascinating anomalies where the energy behaves in unexpected ways. The ground beneath our feet is crisscrossed with what are often called ley lines or energy grids, pathways where this terrestrial magnetism is believed to be more concentrated or accessible. Today, we have sophisticated tools like magnetometers and satellites to map these subtle variations with incredible precision, revealing a hidden topography of energy that is completely invisible to our naked eyes. This leads us to a profound and compelling question. Without any of our modern instruments, how did ancient cultures not only detect these subtle energies but also learn to work with them? The answer might lie in a form of perception that modern society has largely forgotten, a deep, intuitive connection to the natural world. Ancient peoples were exceptional observers. They noticed where plants grew with unusual vigor, where animals consistently gathered, or where water seemed to possess unique properties. They might have used simple yet effective tools like lodestones, which are naturally magnetic pieces of mineral, or even dowsing rods made from wood, to physically feel the subtle pull and push of these terrestrial forces. By paying close attention to these natural signs over generations, they could have built up a sophisticated, experiential map of the Earth's energetic landscape, identifying the most potent locations for their most important structures. This foundational knowledge completely changes how we view their architectural achievements. It suggests that the placement of a pyramid, a stone circle, or a temple was never arbitrary. These weren't just built on flat, stable ground or near a water source for purely practical construction reasons. They were meticulously positioned at powerful nexuses of Earth energy, chosen for their specific magnetic properties. This understanding shifts the narrative from one of sheer brute force and primitive technology to one of incredible sophistication and harmony with the planet's natural systems. It hints at a lost science of geomancy, the art of placing structures in alignment with spiritual and energetic principles of the Earth, that we are only just beginning to rediscover and appreciate with our advanced instruments. This profound awareness of the world's unseen energies wasn't a fringe belief but a central pillar in the worldview of countless ancient societies. These civilizations perceived the Earth not as a dead rock, but as a living, breathing entity pulsating with a vital force. In China, this energy was known as Kai, the fundamental life force that flows through all things, its balance and movement crucial to health and harmony. In India, the ancient Vedic texts describe prana, a similar concept of a universal energy that sustains life and consciousness. The Polynesians spoke of mana, a spiritual energy that could inhabit people, places, and objects. These weren't just abstract philosophical ideas, they were practical understandings that shaped daily life, healing practices, and most importantly for our exploration, the very placement and construction of their most significant buildings. The master builders behind the world's great ancient monuments were likely far more than just architects or engineers. They were geomancers. Geomancy, literally meaning divination from the earth, was the practice of reading the landscape to understand the flow of these natural energies. These skilled individuals would have been highly trained in observing subtle clues, the way water flowed underground, the types of vegetation that thrived in certain spots, the behavior of animals, and even the feel of the wind. They might have used simple tools like forked dowsing rods or pendulums to physically detect the subtle telluric currents, the energy streams flowing through the earth itself. Their goal was to find a location where this energy was particularly potent, balanced, and harmonious, a place the Chinese would call a dragon vein or a power spot. This explains why so many sacred sites are found in locations that, from a purely practical construction standpoint, seem incredibly inconvenient. The ancient builders didn't always choose the flattest land or the area closest to the quarry. Instead, they sought out these powerful energetic nexuses, even if it meant hauling million-pound stones up a mountainside or across a river. For them, the spiritual and energetic benefits outweighed the immense physical effort. A temple built on a powerful vortex of earth energy was believed to be a conduit between the earthly and the divine, a place where communication with the gods was enhanced, where healing was more potent, and where the community could tap into a source of vitality and order. The architecture itself then became a way to amplify, focus, and harness this innate power of the place, turning a building into a kind of battery or receiver for planetary forces. We can see this principle at work across the globe. In Egypt, the placement of the Great Pyramids on the Giza Plateau aligns with incredible precision not just to celestial bodies, but also to suspected underground water aquifers and geological fault lines, features known to influence and amplify electromagnetic fields. In Mesoamerica, the stepped pyramids of Teotihuacan are precisely aligned along a central avenue that mirrors the solar system, but the site itself is also believed to sit on a major confluence of ley lines. The builders were integrating a triple-layered understanding: astronomy, geography, and geomancy. They were mapping the heavens onto an Earth that was already pulsing with its own power, creating a sacred synergy between the cosmos above and the energy below. This deep connection suggests a level of sophistication we are only now beginning to appreciate with our modern scientific instruments. They weren't primitive people using superstition to explain a world they didn't understand. They were keenly intelligent observers who developed a complex science of energy and placement, a science that wove together the practical, the spiritual, and the mystical into a seamless whole. Their legacy is written in the stones of these monuments, waiting for us to learn how to read it again, not with skepticism, but with the same open-minded intuition they themselves employed. Now, let's apply this perspective to one of the most iconic and baffling structures ever created, the Great Pyramid of Giza. For generations, we've been told it was a colossal tomb built with ramps and ropes, a theory that, while logical, has never felt entirely complete. The sheer precision is staggering. Its base is leveled to within just a fraction of an inch across an area larger than 10 football fields, and its sides are aligned to the 4 cardinal directions with an accuracy that rivals modern surveying. But what if this precision wasn't just about astronomy or showing off? What if it was a necessary function of the pyramid's true purpose, intricately tied to the very energy of the land it sits upon? Recent scientific investigations have begun to peel back these layers of mystery using tools the original builders could never have imagined. Researchers employing highly sensitive magnetometers have mapped the Giza Plateau and discovered something extraordinary. The pyramid isn't just sitting on the ground, it's interacting with it. The measurements reveal distinct magnetic anomalies, specific spots where the Earth's magnetic field is weaker or stronger, and these anomalies correspond almost perfectly with the pyramid's internal architecture. The subterranean chamber, the Grand Gallery, and the King's Chamber are all positioned at points of significant magnetic variation. This strongly suggests that the pyramid's layout was not a random choice, but a deliberate design to harness or resonate with these specific energetic hotspots beneath the desert sands. The building materials themselves add another layer of intrigue to this energy harnessing theory. The outer casing was once made of highly polished Chora limestone, a stone that is an excellent electrical insulator. Inside, the massive structural blocks and the chambers are built from granite, a rock that is packed with microscopic crystals of quartz. Quartz is a mineral with a fascinating property known as piezoelectricity. This means that when quartz crystals are subjected to mechanical pressure or vibration, like the immense weight of millions of tons of stone pressing down from above, or even the subtle seismic vibrations of the Earth itself, they generate a small electrical charge. It's the same principle used in modern devices like quartz watches and microphone pickups. Within the confined spaces of the pyramid's chambers, this piezoelectric effect could have created a measurable and potentially usable electromagnetic field. This leads us to one of the pyramid's most enduring puzzles. How were the interior chambers lit? The narrow, deep passageways, like the descending corridor and the Grand Gallery, are devoid of any soot marks or residue from torches or oil lamps. This has always been a thorn in the side of conventional explanations. If workers were carving and placing these immense blocks in pitch darkness, it seems nearly impossible. The piezoelectric theory offers a compelling alternative. Could the constant pressure and vibration within the structure have generated enough of an electrical charge to create a faint, ambient glow, or even to power some form of primitive lighting? Ancient Egyptian texts sometimes refer to fire that does not burn, or light from the stones, phrases that modern Egyptologists often dismiss as metaphor, but that take on a new, more literal meaning in this context. When you combine all of these elements, the precise alignment to magnetic anomalies, the clever use of insulating and conductive stones, and the potential for generating an internal electrical field, a new picture of the Great Pyramid emerges. It begins to look less like a simple tomb and more like a sophisticated piece of technology, a powerful energy device designed to tap into and amplify the natural forces of the Earth. This doesn't diminish the achievement of its builders, it elevates it. It suggests they possessed a profound understanding of geophysics and material science that we are only now rediscovering. The Great Pyramid stands not as a monument to death, but as a timeless testament to a lost science of energy, challenging us to expand our understanding of what ancient civilizations were truly capable of achieving. While the Great Pyramid presents a compelling case for energy manipulation, another ancient marvel, Stonehenge, offers a different yet equally fascinating puzzle set against the green plains of southern England. For centuries, the prevailing image has been one of Neolithic people straining with ropes and log rollers to erect these colossal sarsen stones, a monument primarily dedicated to tracking the sun and moon. But what if that's only half the story? What if the true genius of Stonehenge lies not just in what we see above ground, but in something far more subtle and invisible that flows beneath it? Emerging research suggests this iconic circle was positioned with incredible intention, built upon a powerful convergence of the Earth's own magnetic pathways. The very location of Stonehenge appears to be anything but accidental. Geomantic surveys and modern magnetometer readings have repeatedly shown that the site sits directly atop a major intersection of what are often termed ley lines, hypothetical alignments between ancient sites that some researchers believe correspond with channels of telluric or Earth energy. Furthermore, the area is known for significant magnetic anomalies, places where the planet's magnetic field behaves in unusual and potent ways. This isn't a faint background energy, it's a noticeable distortion that modern equipment can easily detect. The builders, through generations of observation and intuition, likely identified this specific field as a place of unique power, making it the perfect canvas for their most ambitious project. The choice of materials further deepens this magnetic connection. While the giant outer sarsens are local, the smaller, inner bluestones were transported an astonishing 150 miles from the Preseli Hills in Wales. This Herculean effort has always begged the question, why? The answer may be in their composition. Scientific analysis reveals that these bluestones are rich in magnetite, a strongly magnetic mineral, as well as other crystalline structures that are highly responsive to electromagnetic fields. It's as if the builders went to extraordinary lengths to quarry and transport not just any stones, but stones with specific, innate energetic properties. They weren't just building with rock, they were building with components that could actively interact with the forces of the site itself. This combination of a powerful location and responsive materials leads to a revolutionary theory that Stonehenge functioned less like a calendar and more like an energy amplifier or conductor. The arrangement of the stones, particularly the classic trilithon's two vertical stones capped by a horizontal lintel, could have created a focused circuit, channeling and concentrating the Earth's energy within the circle. During specific celestial events, like the solstices its alignments are famous for, this effect might have been dramatically amplified. The sun and moon exert a direct influence on Earth's magnetic field through solar winds and tidal forces. At these peak times, the energy within the circle could have become palpable, even measurable. This potential for generating a tangible energy field provides a new lens through which to view the monument's purpose. The long-held theory that it was a place of healing gains remarkable traction. Imagine pilgrims traveling from across the land to stand within the circle, not just for a ritual, but to experience the purported rejuvenating effects of these amplified natural energies. Ancient folklore from the British Isles is filled with stories of healing stones and places where the veil between worlds is thin. Instead of being mere myth, these stories could be cultural memories of a real geophysical phenomenon that was harnessed at places like Stonehenge. Its function was likely a holistic blend of the practical and the spiritual, an astronomical observatory, a sacred temple, and a geophysical power station all in one, revealing a worldview that saw no separation between the celestial above, the terrestrial below, and the human spirit in between. This concept of harnessing specific terrestrial energy brings us to one of the most captivating and debated ideas in alternative history: the role of ley lines. Imagine the Earth's surface not as a random collection of hills and valleys, but as a vast, invisible circuit board etched with lines of energy. These are the so-called ley lines, hypothetical alignments that are said to connect ancient sacred sites, pyramids, stone circles, temples, and mounds across vast distances in stunningly straight paths. While the term itself was popularized in the 1920s by an English amateur archaeologist named Alfred Watkins, who noticed that old churches and monuments often fell into straight alignments, the underlying concept is far older. It suggests that our ancestors were not just building in isolation, they were participating in a global, or at the very least a continental, network of energy, deliberately placing their most powerful monuments as nodes on this grid. The argument made by proponents of this theory is that these alignments are not mere coincidence. When you take a map and begin to draw lines between, say, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, and the temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the straightness of the alignment can be startling. In the British Isles, a line can be drawn from St. Michael's Mount in Cornwall, through the famous Glastonbury Tor, and onward to the prehistoric earthworks known as the Gog-Magog Hills. Across the Atlantic, similar patterns emerge. The ancient Mississippian city of Cahokia, with its massive Monk's Mound, aligns with other major earthworks. In Peru, the mysterious Nazca lines, those giant geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, seem to point toward distant mountain shrines and ceremonial centers. The sheer number of these potential alignments, spanning different continents and cultures, makes it difficult to dismiss them all as simple chance. But what could these lines actually represent if they are real? The most compelling theory is that they correspond with magnetic pathways or channels for telluric currents, streams of electrical energy that flow through the Earth's crust. These currents are a scientific fact, influenced by subterranean water flows, geological faults, and mineral deposits. Ancient cultures, with their deep sensitivity to the natural world, might have been able to perceive these subtle energy flows through observation or through techniques like dowsing. They would have identified these powerful, energetic meridians and chosen to build their most significant structures directly upon them, effectively tapping into the planet's natural power grid. The monument would then act not just as a place of worship or community, but as a kind of amplifier or stabilizer for that energy, much like a transformer on an electrical line. This points toward a potential global understanding of geomancy, the art of sacred placement. It implies that cultures separated by oceans and millennia might have independently discovered, or perhaps even shared, a profound knowledge of the Earth's energetic anatomy. The pyramid builders of Egypt, the megalithic architects of Europe, the temple builders of Southeast Asia, and the mound builders of North America, they all might have been operating from the same fundamental playbook. They understood that the power of a place was not just in its physical beauty or strategic defense, but in its innate, invisible potency. A temple built on a powerful ley line intersection was believed to be a direct conduit to the divine, a place where the veil between worlds was thin, where healing was more effective, and where communication with the cosmos was enhanced. By tracing these lines and recognizing the patterns, we are offered a tantalizing glimpse into a possible lost science. It was a science that seamlessly blended astronomy, geology, and spirituality, viewing the planet as a living, energetic being and humanity as an integral part of that system. The ancient builders in this light appear not as primitive people struggling with stone, but as masterful engineers of energy, consciously weaving a network of power across the globe. They left behind a map written not on parchment, but in the very placement of their greatest works, a silent testament to their sophisticated understanding of the hidden forces that shape our world. This meticulous selection of stone goes far beyond mere aesthetics or simple availability. It reveals a sophisticated understanding of material science that we are only now beginning to appreciate. Ancient builders weren't just picking the hardest or most readily accessible rock. They were curating materials based on their intrinsic energetic properties, choosing stones that could actively interact with the Earth's magnetic field. Think of it not as simple construction, but as building a circuit. They weren't just stacking rocks, they were assembling components for a device designed to harness natural energy. Granite is a perfect example, a favorite from the quarries of Egypt to the temples of India. This igneous rock is packed with a trio of key minerals: quartz, feldspar, and mica. Quartz in particular is the star player here. It's a piezoelectric material, meaning it generates a small electrical voltage when subjected to mechanical stress or vibration. The immense weight of a multi-ton granite block, constantly pressing down and subtly shifting with the Earth's vibrations, could have turned entire structures into low-level power generators. The famous obelisks of Egypt, often capped with electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, might have functioned like giant conductive antennas, focusing this subtle energy upward into the atmosphere. Across the ocean, the Inca builders of the Andes displayed a similar, almost supernatural knowledge of their materials. They worked extensively with andesite, an extremely hard volcanic rock. The precision of their stonework is legendary, with blocks fitting together so perfectly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. The conventional explanation involves immense patience and stone-on-stone abrasion. However, the presence of large magnetite deposits in the region offers another possibility. Magnetite is a naturally magnetic iron ore. If the Incas understood that certain andesite stones, rich in magnetite, could be manipulated or even subtly softened by applying specific resonant sound frequencies or by aligning them with the Earth's magnetic field, it could explain their ability to achieve such impossible precision. The stones might have been literally guided into place, drawn by magnetic attraction, or made momentarily malleable. Even the ubiquitous limestone used in so many ancient structures plays a crucial role beyond being a simple building block. While often an insulator, limestone can contain high concentrations of calcite crystals. Calcite is a mineral known for its unique property of double refraction, bending light in fascinating ways, but it also has piezoelectric capabilities. More importantly, in places like the Giza Plateau, the specific limestone used is packed with fossilized nummulites, ancient sea creatures with crystalline shells. This unique composition could contribute to the stone's ability to dampen or channel vibrations in specific ways, turning a massive pyramid wall into a tuned resonator. This deliberate selection process implies a deep, hands-on familiarity with geology that was likely passed down through generations of artisan builders. They would have known the exact quarry from which to extract stones with the perfect crystalline structure, the ideal mineral content, and the most responsive energetic signature. They weren't just stonemasons, they were energy artisans, selecting their materials with the same care a modern electrical engineer would use in choosing a capacitor or a resistor. Each block was chosen not just for its size and shape, but for what it could do, for how it would contribute to the overall energetic function of the monument, creating structures that were truly alive with the hidden power of the earth. So how did these ancient artisans, without the benefit of modern science or sophisticated gadgetry, actually locate and work with these invisible forces? The answer likely lies not in complex machinery, but in a profound intimacy with the natural world and the use of elegantly simple tools. One of the most fundamental instruments would have been the lodestone, a naturally occurring magnetite that aligns itself with Earth's magnetic field. These curious stones, which can magnetize iron, have been known since antiquity. A builder or geomancer could have slowly walked a potential site, carefully observing a suspended lodestone's subtle movements to detect areas of stronger magnetic pull, effectively creating a primitive but functional compass to map the energetic landscape long before it was used for navigation. Beyond mineral magnetism, another widespread technique believed to have been used is dowsing, often called water divining. This practice involves using a forked rod, typically made from willow or hazel wood, or sometimes pendulums, which are held in the hands and seem to move involuntarily when passing over underground water sources or energy veins. While modern science remains skeptical, the persistent use of dowsing across countless cultures and centuries suggests there might be an intuitive, perhaps subconscious, human sensitivity to these subtle geophysical variations. For an ancient surveyor, the gentle dip or twist of a dowsing rod would have been a clear signal, marking the perfect spot to place a cornerstone or erect a sacred altar, ensuring the structure was grounded in the earth's vitality. But locating the energy was only half the challenge. The other was manipulating the incredibly hard stone itself. This is where the theories become truly fascinating. Legends from multiple cultures speak of stones being made soft, like clay, or even levitated into place using sound. The concept of acoustic softening suggests that specific resonant frequencies could reduce the friction between stone crystals, making massive blocks temporarily malleable and easier to shape with simple tools. Imagine a team of workers surrounding a granite block, not with brute force, but with a chorus of voices, drums, or primitive instruments like lithophones, specially tuned stone slabs that ring like bells. By finding the precise resonant frequency of the rock, they could have essentially sung the stones into their desired shape, a technique that would leave no tool marks and explain the surreal, molded appearance of stones at places like Pumapunku or Sacsayhuaman. This synergy of methods using lodestones and dowsing to find the energy and sound to work the stone was then perfected by aligning it all with the cosmos. The ancient builders were master astronomers, tracking the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars with breathtaking accuracy. They understood that celestial events had a direct influence on terrestrial energies. Solar flares and lunar tides can cause measurable fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field. Therefore, the most critical construction activities, the shaping of the capstone, the alignment of a key passageway, the final placement of a lintel, would have been timed to coincide with these energetic peaks, such as a solstice sunrise or a lunar eclipse. In this moment of perfect synchronicity, the power of the place, the properties of the stone, and the energy from the heavens would all converge, allowing them to achieve feats that seem superhuman by today's standards. Their toolkit was a blend of elemental observation, acoustic physics, and celestial timing, turning monumental construction into a sacred act of harmonizing with the universe itself. Now let's pull back the curtain on one of the most fascinating scientific principles that could explain these ancient energy wonders, piezoelectricity. At its core, piezoelectricity is a remarkable property found in certain materials where mechanical stress, meaning pressure, vibration, or even twisting, is directly converted into an electrical charge. The word itself comes from the Greek piezein, which means to squeeze or press. It's not magic, it's a fundamental law of physics. A common modern example is the quartz crystal in your wristwatch. The tiny battery inside sends an electric current through the quartz, making it vibrate at an incredibly precise frequency, which in turn regulates the timekeeping mechanism. In this case, electricity creates vibration, but the effect also works in reverse. Applying vibration or pressure to that same quartz crystal will generate a small electrical charge. This two-way street of energy conversion is the secret sauce that might have been at work in ancient monuments. The stones chosen by these master builders were packed with piezoelectric potential. Granite, used so prominently in places like the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, is approximately 30 to 60% quartz. This isn't just a random component. Quartz is one of the most effective naturally occurring piezoelectric materials on Earth. Imagine the immense, constant pressure exerted on the base stones of a massive pyramid, supporting millions of tons of weight from above. This isn't a static load. The Earth itself is constantly humming with subtle seismic vibrations, and even the sound of wind or distant thunder sends ripples through the ground. This endless symphony of pressure and vibration would have gently but persistently squeezed these quartz crystals, causing them to generate a continuous, low-level electrical field within the structure's core. This leads us to some of the most intriguing legends associated with these sites. Stories from various cultures speak of oracles receiving visions in sacred chambers, or of initiates undergoing profound spiritual experiences. Others tell of singing stones or even stones that glowed with a faint, ethereal light. The famous Dendera light bulbs carved in an Egyptian temple, often dismissed as symbolic depictions of snakes or lotus flowers, take on a new possibility when viewed through the lens of piezoelectricity. Could the constant pressure within a granite-lined chamber have generated enough of an electrical charge to cause a phenomenon known as corona discharge, or even to make certain minerals fluoresce with a soft, visible glow? It would certainly explain the complete absence of soot or residue from torches in deep, windowless passages. Perhaps the builders didn't need torches because they had learned to harness the Earth's own energy to create a subtle, ambient light source. The true genius, however, may not have been in a single stone generating a spark, but in the collective effect of an entire structure designed as a piezoelectric generator. By carefully selecting their stones and arranging them in specific configurations, perhaps aligning the crystalline structures of the rocks during placement, the ancient builders could have been creating a coordinated energy system. The entire monument might have functioned as a tuned circuit, resonating with specific earthly vibrations and converting that mechanical energy into a structured electromagnetic field. This would transform a passive building into an active device, one that dynamically interacted with its environment. It could have amplified the natural telluric currents of the ley lines it was built upon, creating a concentrated zone of energy that could be sensed and perhaps even utilized for ceremonial, healing, or unknown technological purposes. This represents a breathtaking fusion of architecture and natural physics, a revolutionary way of building that turned inert stone into a responsive, energy-harvesting system. This profound spiritual dimension completely redefines our understanding of these ancient sites. To view them merely as tombs, calendars, or even energy devices is to miss their most vital purpose. For the cultures that built them, these structures were living bridges between the earthly realm and the world of spirit, and the Earth's energy was the very medium that made this connection possible. The magnetic fields and telluric currents weren't harnessed for power in a modern, utilitarian sense. They were cultivated as a sacred force, a manifestation of the planet's own lifeblood and consciousness. Building a temple on a powerful energy vortex was like plugging into the divine, creating a focused portal where communication with gods, ancestors, and cosmic forces was not just hoped for, but actively facilitated and amplified by the very ground upon which they stood. This concept of sacred landscape is beautifully illustrated by the Native American medicine wheels found scattered across the plains of North America. These stone constructions, often built in high, open places with sweeping views of the sky, were far more than simple astronomical markers. They were, and still are for many indigenous peoples, places of profound ceremony, healing, and vision quests. Their specific locations were chosen through deep spiritual attunement to the land, often at sites known for their palpable energy, where the veil between worlds is thin. To sit at the center of a medicine wheel is to align oneself with the four directions, the heavens above and the earth below, using the natural energy of the place to amplify prayer, seek guidance, and restore personal harmony. The structure itself acts as a lens, focusing the innate spiritual power of the location for the benefit of the individual and the community. Similarly, across the Atlantic, the Celtic peoples of ancient Europe demonstrated this same intuitive wisdom. Their stone circles, like the famous rollright stones in England or the remote Callanish stones in Scotland, were meticulously placed. While their alignments with solar and lunar events are clear, their locations also consistently correspond with underground water flows and geological faults, features known to create measurable electromagnetic anomalies. For the Druids and other spiritual leaders, these were not coincidences. These sites were considered thin places where the boundary between the mundane world and the other world dissolved. Rituals performed within these circles were believed to be supercharged by the land's own energy, making divination, healing, and communion with the divine more potent and effective. The stones themselves, often rich in quartz, were seen as repositories of this earth energy, standing as eternal sentinels guarding these sacred portals. This intertwining of the physical and spiritual reveals a holistic worldview that is largely foreign to modern society. Ancient cultures did not separate science from spirituality or architecture from metaphysics. The energy of the earth was a tangible expression of the divine, and by building in harmony with it, they were participating in a cosmic order. A pyramid was not just a building, it was a machine for enlightenment designed to elevate the consciousness of those within it. A stone circle was not just a calendar, it was a hospital for the soul, where the land's energy could facilitate physical and emotional healing. The practical and the spiritual were two sides of the same coin, a complete system designed to nourish every aspect of human existence, providing shelter for the body, awe for the mind, and connection for the soul. In this light, these magnetic monuments stand as the ultimate expression of a culture living in sacred reciprocity with a living, breathing, energetic planet. Perhaps one of the most compelling mysteries in this entire field is the uncanny repetition of specific architectural designs across the globe. Consider the pyramid. This iconic shape emerges with stunning consistency, from the sun-baked deserts of Egypt and Sudan to the lush jungles of Guatemala and the arid coast of Peru. While their sizes and purposes vary, the fundamental form, a massive stone-built structure with a square base and 4 triangular sides, is a constant. Conventional history teaches that these cultures developed in complete isolation, yet they all arrived at this incredibly stable, energy-efficient shape. The pyramidal form is not just structurally sound, it also creates a unique energetic dynamic. The geometry is believed to focus telluric energy upward from the base toward the apex, and some researchers suggest the shape itself can influence electromagnetic fields in ways we are still trying to understand. It's as if builders on different continents, separated by thousands of years and miles of ocean, were all following the same invisible instruction manual for harnessing a power they could feel but not see. This shared architectural language extends far beyond just shape. The meticulous selection of stone we discussed earlier is another powerful thread in this global tapestry. The ancient builders of Easter Island, known for their enigmatic moai statues, chose their material from the volcanic crater of Raraku. The rock from this quarry is rich in magnetite. Similarly, the massive stone spheres of Costa Rica, another enduring archaeological puzzle, are carved from gabbro, a rock laden with magnetic minerals. Modern scans have shown that many of these spheres have distinct magnetic poles, and some are even positioned in alignments that correspond with local magnetic anomalies. On the other side of the world, the granite menhirs of Carnac in France, arranged in thousands of parallel lines, are also placed on ground with unusual magnetic properties. This pattern of selecting and positioning magnetically active stones is simply too widespread to be dismissed as coincidence. It points toward a universal, hands-on understanding of how certain rocks interact with the Earth's hidden forces. Then we have the stunning precision of the stonework itself, a hallmark that connects cultures that supposedly never met. The polygonal masonry of the Inca at sites like Machu Picchu or Ollantaytambo, where massive, irregularly shaped stones are fitted together with a seamless, jigsaw-like perfection, finds a startling echo on the other side of the world. In Japan, the hidden megalithic foundations of the Asuka Pyramid and the mysterious stone walls of the Coffin period display the same mind-boggling precision, with interlocking stones that defy explanation. Even more curiously, this same style appears in ancient Egypt at the Osirian, a mysterious subterranean structure attributed to the pharaoh Seti I, but whose construction style is vastly older and completely different from the surrounding temples. This identical approach to working with massive, hard stone to create impossibly tight joins suggests a possible shared technological heritage, a lost school of stonemasonry that understood how to shape rock with an almost supernatural ease, perhaps using the sonic or energetic techniques we've explored. This brings us to the million-dollar question that these parallels inevitably raise. How do we explain these repeated patterns across impossible divides of time and space? Scholars generally propose two theories. The first is the concept of independent invention, the idea that different human societies, when faced with similar challenges and opportunities, can independently arrive at similar solutions. It's a logical and often valid argument. However, the sheer specificity of the solutions, the choice of magnetic stones, the precise astronomical alignments, the unique geometric forms pushes the boundaries of coincidence. The second, more controversial theory is the possibility of a lost global connection. This doesn't necessarily mean ancient astronauts or sunken continents like Atlantis. It could point to a much more ancient, sophisticated, and now vanished human civilization that spanned the globe before a cataclysm, leaving behind fragmented knowledge that later cultures inherited and attempted to replicate. Alternatively, it could suggest a period of prehistoric maritime travel and cultural exchange that is completely absent from our current historical records, a forgotten network of explorers who shared these geomantic principles across the oceans. Perhaps the most beautiful and profound explanation lies not in a single source, but in a shared human capacity. Maybe this knowledge wasn't taught or transported, but intuitively felt. This theory posits that ancient peoples, living in a much deeper and more sensitive relationship with the natural world, possessed an innate ability to perceive the Earth's energies directly. They could feel the subtle pull at a ley line convergence, sense the vitality of a place, and understand the unique properties of a stone through touch and intuition abilities that our modern, technology-saturated lives have largely atrophied. In this light, the global patterns are not a sign of a single teacher, but a testament to a universal human potential. Different cultures, in their own unique ways, were simply tapping into the same fundamental energy of the living planet, giving it names like Kai, Prana, or Mana, and expressing their understanding through the most lasting language they knew, stone. This view suggests that the capacity to harmonize with the Earth's hidden forces is not a lost technology, but a latent human intuition waiting to be reawakened. Of course, it is entirely reasonable and indeed essential to approach these ideas with a healthy dose of scientific skepticism. The mainstream archaeological view, which attributes these monumental achievements to immense human labor, ingenious simple machines, and generations of accumulated practical knowledge, is a powerful and well-supported narrative. The sheer scale of the workforce required for the pyramids, evidenced by worker villages discovered at Giza, or the sophisticated use of ramps and levers, shows a mastery of logistics and physics that is impressive in its own right. To suggest that something more was at play can understandably be met with resistance, as it challenges a foundational paradigm of human history. The burden of proof, therefore, lies with those proposing these alternative theories, and they must be held to a high standard of evidence. However, the conversation evolves when we move from outright dismissal to a more nuanced examination of the anomalies that the traditional model struggles to fully explain. It's one thing to say a ramp could have been used to lift blocks. It's another to account for the incredible precision with which those multi-ton blocks were shaped and fitted, often with microscopic tolerances and without the use of hardened metal tools. The conventional tools found at archaeological sites, copper chisels, stone hammers, dolerite pounding stones, seem woefully inadequate for achieving the laser-like precision seen in Incan polygonal masonry or the flawless flatness of granite sarcophagi. This gap between the proposed tools and the finished product is a legitimate point of curiosity, not a refutation of human capability, but an invitation to ask if we might be missing a piece of the technological puzzle. This is where the role of emerging scientific evidence becomes so crucial, as it moves the discussion out of the realm of pure speculation. When independent researchers using modern magnetometers, instruments that measure the strength and direction of magnetic fields, return to these ancient sites and consistently find significant, localized anomalies that correlate with specific architectural features, we must pay attention. These aren't vague feelings or esoteric readings, they are quantifiable data points, detecting a powerful magnetic anomaly at the very center of a stone circle, or a specific variation at the entrance to a subterranean chamber, provides a tangible, measurable phenomenon that demands an explanation. It suggests that the builders were not only aware of these energy variations, but that they may have intentionally incorporated them into their designs, marking these spots as spiritually or functionally significant. The most productive path forward is not a battle between rigid orthodoxies, but a collaborative, interdisciplinary investigation. The goal isn't to throw out everything we know about ancient cultures, but to enrich our understanding. Perhaps the truth is a synthesis, that these societies possessed a profound empirical knowledge that we are only now beginning to quantify with our instruments. Their technology might have been a blend of advanced acoustics, an intuitive understanding of material science, and a spiritual framework that saw energy and matter as interconnected. By combining the rigorous methods of archaeology and geology with open-minded exploration into geophysics and archaeoacoustics, we can build a more complete and awe-inspiring picture of the past. This isn't about diminishing the intelligence of our ancestors. It's about elevating it to a level of sophistication that we are only just beginning to comprehend. While the theories we've explored are compelling, they move from intriguing speculation to serious scientific inquiry thanks to a new wave of modern research. Archaeologists and physicists are now joining forces, deploying sophisticated instruments to these ancient sites in a quest for measurable, quantifiable data. This isn't about proving folklore. It's about using the precise language of science to listen to what these monuments have been silently saying for millennia. The results are beginning to validate the idea that our ancestors were attuned to an energetic world that we, until recently, lacked the tools to perceive. At the forefront of this investigative effort are devices that sound like they belong in a particle physics lab. Take the squid magnetometer, for instance, which stands for Superconducting Quantum Interference Device. This incredibly sensitive instrument can detect fluctuations in magnetic fields 1 billion times weaker than the Earth's own field. It's like giving scientists a pair of glasses that allow them to see the faintest whispers of magnetism. Researchers using squid at sites like the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, Mexico, have not only confirmed the presence of magnetic anomalies but have mapped their specific locations. Intriguingly, these anomalies often correspond with the pyramid's internal tunnels and chambers, suggesting the structure was built to incorporate or interact with these natural energy variations, rather than simply being placed on top of them. Ground-penetrating radar adds another layer to this investigation, acting like an X-ray for the Earth. By sending radar pulses into the ground and analyzing the signals that bounce back, researchers can create detailed three-dimensional maps of what lies beneath the surface without ever lifting a shovel. This technology has been revolutionary at sites like the Carnac stone alignments in France, where thousands of megaliths stand in parallel rows. GPR surveys have revealed that many of these massive stones are not just sitting on the topsoil. They are embedded deep into the earth, often directly above subterranean fissures or underground water streams. Since moving water is known to generate electrical currents and distort local magnetic fields, this discovery provides a compelling physical reason for why the builders chose these specific, seemingly random spots to erect their monuments. The most convincing evidence often emerges when data from multiple technologies converges. At the ancient temple complex of Avebury in England, which dwarfs its more famous neighbor Stonehenge in scale, researchers have combined magnetometer surveys, soil conductivity tests, and even aerial thermography. The resulting maps don't show a random scatter of stones. They reveal coherent, geometric patterns of energy that align with the monument's axis. These patterns suggest the site functions as a coordinated system, with certain stones acting as conduits or amplifiers, channeling telluric energy along specific pathways. It's as if the blueprints for an ancient power grid are slowly being unearthed, not from buried papyrus, but from the silent, enduring stone itself. This interdisciplinary approach is crucial because it moves the discussion beyond anecdotal accounts of people feeling energy. It provides hard, reproducible data that can be analyzed, debated, and built upon, while the interpretation of why these energy patterns exist, whether they were intentionally created or simply harnessed, remains a subject of healthy debate. The existence of the patterns themselves is becoming increasingly difficult to dispute. This research is forging a new path, one that respects the rigor of material science while remaining open to the profound possibility that ancient wisdom encompassed an understanding of the natural world that we are only now, with our most advanced gadgets, beginning to catch up to. While we've explored the profound roles of stone and magnetism, there is another vital, flowing element that ancient builders seem to have masterfully incorporated into their designs: water. This isn't just about the practical need for drinking water or transportation. It appears water was a fundamental component in their energetic architecture, a natural amplifier that could turn a powerful site into a supercharged one. The science behind this is both elegant and profound. Underground water, particularly when it is moving through aquifers and subterranean channels, interacts directly with the Earth's magnetic field. As water flows over certain types of rock and through mineral-rich soil, it generates a small electrical current, a phenomenon known as piezoelectricity. This moving, charged water effectively creates a natural battery, enhancing and distorting the local magnetic field into a more complex and potent energy pattern. These zones of intensified energy would have been veritable hotspots, places where the telluric currents of the Earth were most active and accessible. The evidence for this intentional use of water is etched into the landscapes surrounding the world's most enigmatic monuments. The Giza Plateau, for instance, is not just a sandy expanse overlooking the Nile. Geological surveys have confirmed the presence of a massive aquifer, a deep layer of water-bearing rock flowing beneath the pyramids. This isn't a passive, stagnant pool. It's a moving body of water, channeled through limestone and capable of generating those subtle electrical currents. The significance is staggering. The Great Pyramid, a structure we've already seen is packed with piezoelectric quartz, wasn't just built on solid rock. It was strategically positioned atop a natural energy amplifier, its foundations interacting with this subterranean river to potentially supercharge the electromagnetic effects within its chambers. The builders didn't fight the environment, they partnered with it, using the land's own hydrology to power their visionary creation. This pattern repeats itself across the globe with unmistakable consistency. In Cambodia, the magnificent temple complex of Angkor Wat is surrounded by an immense moat and sophisticated canal systems, which many archaeologists believe were used for more than just defense or irrigation. These water features likely regulated the water table beneath the temple, maintaining ideal conditions for energy conduction. In Peru, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman overlooks the city of Cusco, which itself was said to be designed in the shape of a puma. More importantly, ancient canals still visible today channel water from high-altitude springs directly toward and around these monumental structures, suggesting a deliberate effort to guide this energizing element. From the sacred springs that feed the base of the Chartres Cathedral in France to the intricate water channels under the Temple of the Sun in Teotihuacan, the message is clear: water was not an afterthought, it was a core ingredient in the recipe. So how exactly did this interplay work? Think of it as a sacred synergy between three elements: the stone, the magnetism, and the water. The piezoelectric stones, like quartz-rich granite, generate a small electrical charge when under pressure. The Earth's magnetic field provides a constant directional force. The flowing subterranean water then acts as a conductor and an amplifier, enhancing both the electrical charge and the magnetic field, creating a localized environment buzzing with energy. Furthermore, water is a brilliant medium for carrying sound waves. The presence of underground aquifers could have been used to create powerful resonant frequencies within a site, turning the entire monument into a giant sonic chamber. The hum of the Earth itself, the subtle vibrations from tectonic shifts, wind, and even distant ocean waves could have been captured, focused, and amplified by this stone water battery, creating a constant, low-frequency drone that might have contributed to the altered states of consciousness often reported in these sacred spaces. This reveals a breathtaking level of planning that goes far beyond simple quarrying and construction. It shows that the ancient master builders were also brilliant hydrogeologists. They possessed an intimate understanding of the water table, of aquifer locations, and of how to manipulate surface water to influence the energy dynamics deep below the ground. Their blueprint was not just drawn on papyrus or sand. It was mapped onto the very anatomy of the earth itself, reading the veins of water and lines of magnetic force as clearly as we read a street map. They saw the planet as a living, integrated system, and their greatest architectural achievements were designed to plug directly into that system, using the elemental power of water to elevate their structures from mere buildings into truly alive, dynamic monuments humming with the planet's own vital energy. But if the use of magnetism and water points to a sophisticated understanding of physics, the potential use of sound invites us to consider a technology that borders on magic. Across the globe, from the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of Peru, indigenous legends and ancient texts speak of a time when stones could be softened, shaped, and even moved through the air by the power of sound alone. The ancient Sanskrit epics of India describe vimanas, or flying machines, that were propelled by the rhythmic chanting of specific hymns. Tibetan monks speak of the legendary ability to levitate massive stones to build monasteries using only the deep, resonant tone of long trumpets and drums. For centuries, these stories have been dismissed as pure mythology, symbolic tales not to be taken literally. Yet, a growing body of scientific experimentation is beginning to suggest that these legends might be preserving a fragmented memory of a very real and lost acoustic science. The principle at work is known as acoustic resonance, a phenomenon where a solid object vibrates at its natural frequency when exposed to a specific sound wave. Every material, from a wine glass to a block of granite, has a unique resonant frequency. You can experience this yourself by running a wet finger around the rim of a crystal glass to make it sing. Now, imagine applying that same concept on a monumental scale. Modern experiments have demonstrated that when certain frequencies are applied to stone, particularly hard, crystalline rock like granite or andesite, the vibrations can cause the bonds between the mineral crystals to temporarily loosen, effectively reducing the internal friction and making the stone pliable, almost like a dense clay. This isn't science fiction, it's a demonstrable physical effect. In a laboratory setting, researchers have used specific sonic frequencies to make materials more malleable, a process that could theoretically be scaled up with enough power and precision. This theory offers an elegant solution to some of archaeology's most stubborn puzzles. Consider the massive foundation stones at the Baalbek Terrace in Lebanon, known as the Trilithon. These 3 blocks each weigh an estimated 800 tons, and they are fitted together with a precision that seems impossible for any known ancient technology. How were they quarried, transported, and placed with such accuracy? Some researchers propose that acoustic resonance could be the missing key. If the builders had discovered the resonant frequency of the local limestone, they could have used large arrays of drums, horns, or even human voices to project that frequency onto the stone face in the quarry. The vibrations would have traveled through the rock, creating standing waves that concentrated energy along specific planes, effectively causing the stone to split along a perfectly clean, predetermined line with minimal effort, almost like a modern laser cutter but using sound. The shaping and fitting of stones at places like Sacsayhuaman in Peru or Puma Punku in Bolivia become less mysterious through this lens. The surreal, molded appearance of the stones, as if they were softened and pressed into place, aligns perfectly with the concept of acoustic softening. Instead of years of laborious pounding with stone hammers, a team of workers might have surrounded a block, using specially tuned instruments to find its precise resonant frequency. Once that frequency was achieved and sustained, The stone could have been worked with relative ease, its surface smoothed and its edges beveled with simple tools, leaving behind those characteristic, organic-looking depressions and knobs that so baffle modern observers. The perfect interlocking fits would then be a natural result of this process, as the softened stones could be gently nudged against each other, conforming to the contours of their neighbors before the sound ceased, and they hardened again into their final, immutable form. This acoustic approach doesn't stand alone. It represents the pinnacle of a holistic ancient technology that harmonized multiple natural forces. Imagine a construction site not as a scene of chaotic, brute force labor, but as a carefully orchestrated symphony of energy. The site itself would have been chosen for its potent magnetic and telluric properties. The stones would have been selected for their piezoelectric quartz content. The work would be timed to coincide with celestial events that amplified Earth's magnetic field, and into this already charged environment, the builders would introduce the final element, sound. The resonant frequencies would work in concert with the magnetic and piezoelectric energies, perhaps using the stone itself as a natural amplifier. The result would be a synergistic effect where the whole process became greater than the sum of its parts, allowing for the effortless movement and shaping of stone that appears superhuman by today's standards. This wasn't a primitive struggle against nature. It was an advanced collaboration with it, a lost art of using vibration and energy in perfect harmony to achieve the impossible. This intricate dance between the heavens and the earth suggests a level of planning that is almost unimaginable to our modern, compartmentalized minds. The ancient builders were master conductors in a grand cosmic orchestra, seamlessly blending the rhythms of the sky with the pulses of the planet. Their monuments were not just aligned to the sun and stars for ceremonial or calendrical purposes. They were precisely tuned to harness moments of peak planetary energy, syncing their most critical work with the universe's most powerful cycles. This celestial-terrestrial partnership reveals a holistic science where astronomy, geomancy, and architecture were not separate disciplines, but interwoven threads of a single, profound understanding. Consider the mechanics of this synchronicity. We know that the sun is not a silent, distant ball of light. It is an active star, constantly emitting a stream of charged particles known as the solar wind. When this wind interacts with Earth's magnetic field, it can cause spectacular auroras, but it also creates measurable disturbances and enhancements in our planet's magnetosphere. During periods of heightened solar activity, such as around the equinoxes when the Earth's axis is perfectly sideways to the sun, these interactions are particularly strong. Furthermore, the gravitational pull of the moon, which dictates our tides, also exerts a subtle but constant pressure on the Earth's crust, a phenomenon known as Earth tides. This flexing of the planet itself could subtly influence telluric currents and even the behavior of piezoelectric stones. The ancient builders, through generations of meticulous observation, could have identified these predictable, energetic windows, specific days, and even hours when the Earth's magnetic field was at its most volatile and potent. This knowledge would have been absolutely revolutionary for their construction techniques. Imagine the scene at a site like Stonehenge or Karnak during the winter solstice. We typically picture a ceremony with priests or shamans marking the sunrise, but what if that same sunrise also heralded a period of intense geomagnetic activity? For a builder using lodestones to align massive blocks or employing sound frequencies to soften stone, this temporary surge in the Earth's energy could have been the difference between impossible struggle and achievable precision. The heightened magnetic field might have made their simple tools more effective, allowing for finer adjustments. The increased telluric current flowing through the site could have amplified the piezoelectric effect in their stones, making them more responsive to acoustic manipulation. It's a breathtaking concept. They weren't just waiting for the sun to rise for a ritual. They were waiting for the planet's power to peak so they could literally work with it to achieve their goals. This turns every major ancient monument into a device of astonishing complexity. A structure like Newgrange in Ireland is famous for its roof box that allows the winter solstice sunrise to illuminate its inner chamber. Conventional archaeology views this as a symbolic rebirth ritual, a connection to the afterlife, but when viewed through this new lens, the monument becomes multidimensional. That precise beam of light also marks a moment of profound geophysical significance. The chamber, built with quartz-rich stones, could have been designed to capture and amplify that specific solstice energy surge, creating a temporary, powerful vortex of electromagnetic force within the space. This would mean the structure was not just a passive calendar marking a date, but an active energy harvester, tuned to draw power from a specific celestial event and direct it for a purpose, perhaps for healing, for spiritual vision, or for some technological application we have yet to comprehend. This profound synchronization shows us that these cultures did not see time as a simple, linear progression of days and years. They perceived time as a qualitative experience where certain moments were imbued with unique energetic potential. A solstice wasn't just a date on a stone circle. It was a portal of opportunity, a moment when the veil between worlds was thin not just spiritually, but physically and geophysically. Their greatest architectural achievements stand as permanent invitations to these moments, stone calendars forever set to capture the universe's most powerful rhythms. They built in harmony with a living, breathing cosmos, creating a sacred technology that married the dance of the stars with the heartbeat of the earth. This leads us to a profound and humbling possibility that has captivated researchers for generations. What if the true secret behind these magnetic monuments isn't just a forgotten understanding of natural forces, but the actual loss of sophisticated technology itself? We've explored how ancient builders might have used sound, water, and celestial alignments, but what if they also possessed physical devices, tools, and machines that amplified or manipulated these energies in ways we can scarcely imagine? The idea of a great technological decline is not as far-fetched as it might seem. History is littered with examples of brilliant innovations that were lost for centuries. The sophisticated hydraulic engineering of the Nabateans at Petra, the Roman recipe for ultra-durable concrete, even the Greek invention of the steam engine, all were achievements that vanished for 1,000 years or more, only to be rediscovered in the modern era. This pattern suggests that a cataclysmic event, a prolonged dark age, or simply the fragility of knowledge passed through oral traditions, could have severed our connection to an entire school of ancient technological thought. When we look at the archaeological record, we find tantalizing, albeit rare, artifacts that defy easy classification and hint at this lost complexity. The most famous is perhaps the Antikythera mechanism, a corroded bronze device recovered from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. For decades, it was dismissed as a curious oddity, but modern imaging has revealed it to be an astonishingly complex astronomical calculator, a precise analog computer with dozens of interlocking gears that could predict planetary movements and eclipses. Its existence proves that the ancient Greeks possessed a level of mechanical engineering sophistication that historical texts never described, a technology that was seemingly lost for over a millennium. Then there is the Baghdad battery, a simple terracotta pot containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. When filled with an acidic electrolyte like vinegar, it produces a small electrical charge. While its purpose is debated, it demonstrates a working knowledge of electrochemical principles that, if developed further, could have had applications we can only guess at. In the context of magnetic monuments, this concept of lost technology opens up breathtaking new explanations. Could the builders of the Great Pyramid have possessed a device far more advanced than a simple lodestone, a kind of geomagnetic amplifier or focused resonator? Imagine a tool that didn't just detect Earth's magnetic fields, but could temporarily intensify them at a specific point, making the piezoelectric properties of the granite blocks exponentially more effective, perhaps even allowing them to be levitated or moved with minimal physical effort. Such a device would explain the impossible precision and the utter lack of tool marks on certain stones. Perhaps they used crystalline arrays, carefully cut and tuned to specific frequencies, to generate powerful harmonic resonances that we would now need lasers to replicate. These wouldn't be technologies powered by electricity as we know it, but by a deeper understanding of vibrational energy and geomantic force, a physics that operated on principles we are still struggling to comprehend. The most compelling aspect of this theory is that it doesn't require a single, cataclysmic event like the sinking of Atlantis to be plausible. Knowledge can be erased in slower, more insidious ways. A specialized guild of master builders who guarded their secrets closely could have been wiped out by war, famine, or disease without passing on their most crucial techniques. As societies became more centralized or religions shifted, the old ways of working with earth energies might have been deemed heretical or pagan and systematically suppressed. The practical knowledge of how to tune a stone with sound or measure a ley line with precision could have faded into legend, then into myth, and finally into obscurity, leaving behind only the silent, majestic stones as evidence that someone once knew how to do something we cannot. This isn't about attributing these wonders to aliens or supernatural forces. It's about accepting that human ingenuity has had its peaks and valleys, and that we may be staring at the peak of a valley we have yet to climb out of. The monuments stand as a permanent challenge, a silent question mark against our assumptions of linear progress, urging us to consider that our ancestors might have reached a golden age of innovation that remains buried, not in the sand, but in the lost chapters of our own history. So what if we stopped seeing these ancient principles as mere historical curiosities and started viewing them as a blueprint for a more sustainable future? The wisdom embedded within magnetic monuments offers a revolutionary approach to modern architecture, one that moves beyond simply constructing buildings to creating living, breathing structures that actively participate in their environment. This isn't about abandoning our technology, but about enhancing it by re-engaging with the natural world in a way our ancestors understood intuitively. By embracing a form of biomimicry that honors these ancient concepts, we have the potential to design cities that are not only more energy efficient, but also more harmonious places for human well-being, fundamentally changing our relationship with the built environment. Imagine the sheer potential of integrating piezoelectric materials directly into the fabric of our urban landscapes. We already know that quartz-rich materials can generate electricity from pressure and vibration. Now picture a skyscraper's foundation, its support columns, and even its flooring systems engineered with composite materials infused with piezoelectric crystals. Every footstep in a busy airport terminal, every rumble of a subway deep underground, even the constant wind stress on a tall building's frame, all of this wasted kinetic energy could be captured and converted into usable electricity. This wouldn't power the entire grid, but it could handle a significant portion of a building's own needs for low-level lighting, sensor networks, or emergency systems, creating a self-sustaining loop that turns the building's own activity into its power source. The concept of strategic placement, or modern geomancy, could also transform urban planning from a purely logistical exercise into a holistic design philosophy. Instead of orienting buildings solely for the best views or maximum density, we could use advanced magnetometry and geological surveys to map a city's subterranean energy landscape before we ever break ground. New structures could be aligned to avoid disruptive energy vortices and instead be situated on beneficial telluric currents. This approach could extend to interior design as well, positioning workspaces and bedrooms in areas of a building that promote calm and focus, while placing collaborative areas in more energetically dynamic zones. The goal would be to create environments that don't just shelter us, but actively contribute to our health and cognitive function. This fusion of ancient intuition and cutting-edge technology is already beginning to take root in the field of biophilic design, which seeks to connect building occupants more closely to nature. We're starting to see buildings with living walls, advanced natural ventilation systems that mimic termite mounds, and light wells that maximize circadian rhythm supporting sunlight. The next logical step is to incorporate an understanding of Earth's energy into this matrix. We could develop new smart materials that respond to magnetic fields, or design public plazas with resonant chambers that use subtle sound frequencies to create pockets of tranquility amidst urban chaos. This isn't a return to superstition. It's the birth of a new science, one that uses sophisticated sensors and data analysis to quantify and utilize the very energies that ancient cultures could only feel. Ultimately, this shift in perspective invites us to see ourselves not as separate from our planet, but as an integral part of its energetic ecosystem. The timeless relevance of magnetic monument principles lies in their demonstration of a profound reciprocity between humanity and the Earth. By learning from these ancient master builders, we can move away from an architecture of extraction and dominance toward an architecture of integration and synergy. We can create buildings that heal rather than harm, that give back energy instead of just consuming it, and that stand as testaments to a future where technology and nature are not in opposition, but in perfect, resonant alignment. This journey into the mysteries of ancient energies is not just an intellectual pursuit. It carries with it a profound responsibility. The very sites we seek to understand are not open-air laboratories for unchecked experimentation. They are often living, sacred landscapes, deeply woven into the cultural and spiritual fabric of descendant communities. For many indigenous peoples around the world, from the Native American nations to the Aboriginal Australians, these places are not relics of a dead past. They are active portals to ancestry, centers for ongoing ceremony, and the beating heart of their cultural identity. To treat them merely as puzzles to be solved, or worse, as backdrops for speculative and unauthorized testing, is to disrespect the continuous living tradition that has safeguarded them for millennia. This isn't just about archaeology. It's about basic human respect for the beliefs and sovereignty of the communities for whom these sites are a vital part of the present. The physical fragility of these monuments cannot be overstated. The subtle energetic anomalies we are trying to measure can be easily overwhelmed or permanently altered by careless intervention. Imagine a researcher convinced of a theory about underground water channels, drilling a core sample in a sacred chamber. Not only does this violate the sanctity of the space, but it could also collapse a fragile microclimate that has preserved organic materials for thousands of years, or disrupt the very water flows they hope to study. The pressure from thousands of visitors, each leaving behind the micro-abrasions of their footsteps, the oils from their hands, and even the subtle changes in humidity from their breath, contributes to a slow, irreversible erosion. The quest for knowledge, if pursued without the utmost caution, can become the very instrument of destruction, silencing the secrets we so desperately wish to hear. Therefore, the future of this field must be built on a foundation of ethical collaboration and cutting-edge, non-invasive technology. This means moving beyond the old model of outside experts arriving with preconceived notions. The most meaningful research will be conducted in genuine partnership with local and indigenous communities, valuing their oral histories and traditional knowledge not as myths to be debunked, but as crucial data sets that have been refined over countless generations. A tribal elder's story about the spirit of the mountain might hold the key to understanding a specific magnetic vortex that our magnetometers can only now detect. This collaborative approach ensures that the pursuit of knowledge is a shared endeavor, one that benefits from multiple ways of knowing and respects the rights of those to whom these sites truly belong. Thankfully, modern science provides us with the tools to explore without ever touching. Technologies like LiDAR, light detection and ranging, can map entire jungle-shrouded cities from the air, revealing hidden structures without a single brush being moved on the ground. Ground-penetrating radar can create sonar-like images of subterranean chambers and tunnels. Advanced drone photography can create 3D models of intricate carvings, allowing for detailed study back in a lab rather than on the fragile stone itself. These non-invasive methods allow us to be virtual archaeologists, peeling back the layers of time without causing a single scar, ensuring that the site remains pristine for future generations of both scientists and spiritual practitioners. Ultimately, this mindful approach transforms our relationship with the past from one of extraction to one of stewardship. By prioritizing conservation over curiosity, we make a conscious choice to sometimes leave a mystery unsolved if solving it means causing harm. We acknowledge that some knowledge is meant to be revealed slowly, with reverence and in harmony with the guardians of these places. This ethical framework doesn't hinder discovery, it elevates it. It ensures that our quest to understand the genius of the ancients is conducted with a wisdom they would themselves recognize, a deep respect for the sacredness of the earth, and a commitment to preserving its wonders, not as trophies of a forgotten age, but as living legacies that continue to inspire and humble us. The most thrilling chapter in this story of ancient energy may be the one we are just beginning to write, propelled by a new generation of technologies that are finally giving us the eyes to see what the builders themselves perceived. We are no longer limited to shovels and measuring tapes. We are now armed with tools that feel like they belong in a science fiction novel, allowing us to scan, sense, and simulate the past with a clarity that was unimaginable just a decade ago. At the forefront of this revolution is LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging. This technology involves mounting a laser scanner on an airplane or drone and flying it over a landscape, often one shrouded in dense jungle or vegetation. The laser pulses penetrate the canopy, bouncing off the ground below and returning to the sensor to create an incredibly detailed, three-dimensional map of the Earth's surface. This isn't just about finding a few new walls, it's about completely rewriting our understanding of ancient civilizations. In places like the jungles of Guatemala, LiDAR has revealed vast, interconnected Mayan cities with complex networks of roads, canals, and agricultural terrains that were completely invisible from the ground, suggesting populations far larger and societies far more sophisticated than we ever believed. This technology allows us to see the broader context of these magnetic monuments, revealing how they were integrated into a larger, purposefully designed energetic and geographical grid, rather than standing as isolated wonders. Beyond simply mapping what's on the surface, we are developing the ability to peer deep into the heart of these structures without ever disturbing a single stone. Ground-penetrating radar has been used for years, but its resolution and power are increasing exponentially. New arrays of quantum sensors, particularly those based on atomic magnetometry, are so sensitive they can detect the faintest magnetic anomalies caused by buried foundations, hidden chambers, or even ancient fire pits. These devices can measure magnetic fields 1 billion times weaker than the Earth's own field, allowing researchers to create a detailed magnetic fingerprint of an entire site. Imagine passing such a sensor over the Great Pyramid and being able to visualize not just the known chambers, but every subtle variation in the magnetic field within the millions of tons of stone, potentially revealing voids or material inconsistencies that point to entirely unknown internal features. This isn't just guesswork, it's a form of non-invasive archaeology that provides hard, quantifiable data about the invisible forces that may have guided the builder's hands. The true power of this data explosion, however, will be unlocked by artificial intelligence. The sheer volume of information gathered from LiDAR scans, magnetometer surveys, and satellite imagery is far too vast for any human team to analyze comprehensively. This is where AI and machine learning algorithms come in, capable of sifting through terabytes of data to find patterns that would be invisible to the human eye. An AI could be trained to recognize the specific magnetic signature of a particular type of stone, or to identify every single site across Europe that shares the same unique alignment with a specific celestial event and a local magnetic anomaly. It could cross-reference geological maps with archaeological sites on a global scale, potentially revealing a previously hidden network of ley lines or energy pathways that connect cultures across continents. This computational power moves us from isolated studies of single sites to a holistic planetary scale analysis, searching for the universal rules that may have governed ancient sacred construction. None of this groundbreaking work can happen in a vacuum. The silos that have traditionally separated academic disciplines are finally breaking down, giving rise to a new breed of explorer, the interdisciplinary team. The future of this research depends on physicists who can interpret quantum data, sitting alongside archaeologists who understand cultural context, with geologists mapping subterranean water flows and historians deciphering ancient texts that might describe the sensations of these energies. A physicist might measure a powerful magnetic vortex at a stone circle, while a historian could then find a local myth describing that exact spot as a place where the gods speak. This collaborative synergy is where the real breakthroughs will occur, as each field provides a piece of the puzzle. It's no longer sufficient to just know the age of a pot shard. We need to understand the electromagnetic properties of the soil it was buried in. This fusion of hard science and cultural wisdom is the key that will finally allow us to listen to the full story these stones have been waiting to tell us for millennia. The implications of this research are profound, reaching far beyond academic journals. Every new discovery has the potential to radically reshape our understanding of human history and our own capabilities. Confirming that ancient cultures systematically harnessed Earth's energy would force us to abandon the condescending notion of primitive peoples and replace it with one of different knowledge, a wisdom based on deep observation and intuitive harmony with nature, rather than on mechanical invention. It challenges the very linear narrative of human progress, suggesting that advancement isn't a straight line from simple to complex, but perhaps a spiral where we are only now, with our most advanced technology, rediscovering truths that were once common knowledge. This isn't about replacing one dogma with another. It's about opening our minds to a more nuanced, awe-inspiring, and ultimately more human story of our past, one that reconnects us with the energetic planet we call home and inspires us to build a future that is both technologically brilliant and spiritually whole. What if the most enduring secrets of ancient technology aren't buried in the ground at all, but preserved in plain sight within the stories passed down through generations? Every culture on Earth has its myths and legends, narratives often relegated to the realm of fantasy and superstition. Yet, when we listen to these tales with fresh ears, setting aside our modern preconceptions, we begin to hear startling echoes of the very theories we've been exploring. These stories, far from being mere fanciful inventions, might actually be the oral blueprints of a lost science, encoded in metaphor and symbolism to survive the passage of time and the rise and fall of empires. They represent a different way of knowing, one where profound technological insight was woven into the fabric of cultural memory through storytelling. Consider the recurring motif found across the globe of stones that are moved, shaped, or made to levitate through the power of sound. In ancient Egypt, the famed Westcar papyrus recounts a magician using spoken words to cause a huge stone slab to move effortlessly. The Druidic traditions of the British Isles are rich with accounts of stones being transported through the air to their sacred circles by the chants and incantations of priests. Half a world away, in the Andes, local Quechua legends speak of the Inca builders who knew the secret songs that could make the stones themselves become soft and malleable, allowing them to be fitted together with such incredible precision. For centuries, scholars interpreted these accounts as pure allegory, symbolic tales about the power of faith or magic. But what if we've been misreading them? What if magic words and sacred chants were not supernatural spells, but precise descriptions of using resonant acoustic frequencies, a technology that manipulated matter through vibration? This idea of encoded history extends far beyond simple sound. The biblical story of Joshua bringing down the walls of Jericho with a blast from a ram's horn and the shouts of his army is a classic example. The standard interpretation is one of divine intervention, but a more intriguing possibility emerges when we view it through a geophysical lens. What if Jericho was built upon a specific geological fault or a powerful telluric current? Could the specific frequency produced by the ram's horns and the coordinated shout of hundreds of voices have hit the precise resonant frequency of the city's foundation stones, amplifying the natural energy of the site to create a catastrophic structural failure? This wouldn't diminish the story's power. It would transform it from a miracle into a report of sophisticated applied geophysics, a forgotten weapon of acoustic engineering. The challenge and the great opportunity lies in learning to decipher this ancient code. The language of myth is not the literal language of a modern technical manual. It speaks in the vocabulary of its time, using concepts and metaphors that made sense to the people who first told it. A dragon guarding a sacred spring might be a symbolic representation of a powerful, dangerous electromagnetic vortex at that location. A hero's magic spear that always finds its target could be a description of a lodestone compass used for geomancy. The singing or weeping statues reported in so many traditions could be accounts of the audible hum or subsonic vibrations produced by piezoelectric stones under immense pressure. By cross-referencing these stories with the physical evidence at archaeological sites, we can begin to triangulate the truth, using the myth as a guide to know where to look and what to look for with our scientific instruments. This approach doesn't ask us to abandon critical thinking and believe in magic. Instead, it invites us to expand our definition of history. It proposes that our ancestors were not ignorant primitives trying to explain a world they didn't understand with silly stories, but rather sophisticated observers who recorded their most advanced knowledge in the most durable format they had, narrative. These myths were their libraries, their databases, and their technical journals designed to be memorized and passed on. The tale of a god forging a weapon in the heart of a volcano isn't just a creation myth. It might be a poetic description of the process of smelting ore using geothermal heat. By blending the rigor of archaeological science with the interpretive wisdom of these ancient stories, we unlock a richer, more complex, and far more fascinating picture of human ingenuity. The myths are not opposed to science, they are its potential precursors, waiting for us to develop the right key to unlock the incredible secrets they have held safe for thousands of years. Perhaps the most accessible way to begin your own exploration is by simply paying attention to your body's subtle responses when you visit one of these powerful locations. It's a practice less about seeking a dramatic, supernatural event and more about tuning into your own innate sensitivity. Many visitors to sites like the Rollright Stones in England or the Mount Shasta area in California describe a tangible, physical sensation, a faint tingling in the hands, a slight pressure at the forehead, or a wave of warmth or coolness that seems to have no external source. Others experience sudden, unexpected emotional shifts, feeling a profound sense of peace, an upwelling of inexplicable joy, or even a wave of quiet melancholy. These aren't necessarily imagined. They can be the human body's intuitive reaction to the complex electromagnetic environment, a biological response to the very energies the ancient builders sought to harness. Think of yourself as a living instrument, finely tuned to perceive the whispers of the earth that our modern, busy lives often train us to ignore. To truly open yourself to this experience, timing and approach are everything. If you want to feel the pulse of a place rather than just observe its architecture, consider visiting during the quieter, off-peak hours. The energy of a site at dawn, with the first light cresting the horizon, is profoundly different from the crowded buzz of midday. The same is true for dusk as the day transitions into night, or even under the full moon when the lunar influence on Earth's magnetic field is at its peak. These celestial moments can act as a catalyst, amplifying the subtle energies of the location. Before you even arrive, set an intention to be present. This isn't a typical tourist excursion. It's more akin to a meditative practice. Take a few moments to sit quietly, perhaps with your back against an ancient stone if it's permitted and respectful. Close your eyes, take deep, slow breaths and just feel. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin, the direction of the breeze, and the quality of the silence. This mindful grounding allows you to drop the internal chatter and become a more receptive vessel for whatever sensations the site may offer. For the more experimentally minded, you can bring along a few simple, non-invasive tools to engage with the science behind the sensation. A basic analog compass is one of the most fascinating devices you can carry. As you walk slowly through a site, watch the needle carefully. In areas of magnetic anomaly, it may waver unexpectedly, spin slowly, or fail to point consistently north. This is a direct, visual confirmation of the distorted magnetic fields we've discussed, a tangible piece of evidence that you can observe yourself. Some enthusiasts also use dowsing rods, not as a mystical practice, but as a way to heighten their own subconscious sensitivity. The slight, often involuntary movement of the rods can be a physical amplification of your body's subtle reactions to changes in the environment. The goal isn't to prove anything to anyone else, but to have your own personal, empirical encounter with the invisible forces that shape these places. Ultimately, this personal exploration is about forging a direct connection, bridging the gap between theoretical wonder and lived experience. It's one thing to hear about the piezoelectric properties of quartz in a video, and another to rest your hand on a sun-warmed granite slab at Karnak and feel a faint, humming vibration. This hands-on engagement transforms ancient history from a dry academic subject into a living, breathing mystery. You become part of the ongoing story of these sites, not just as an observer, but as a participant in a timeless human quest to understand our place within the energy of the world. It's an adventure that blends travel, science, and spirituality into a single, profound journey of discovery, inviting you to feel the truth of these mysteries for yourself. This perspective forces a fundamental re-evaluation of the entire timeline of human innovation. For centuries, the dominant narrative has been one of linear progress, a slow, steady climb from primitive hunter-gatherers to our current technological peak. This story often portrays ancient peoples as clever but ultimately simple, using brute force and rudimentary tools to achieve their wonders through sheer grit and immense manpower. The theory of magnetic monuments shatters this comforting but condescending assumption. It proposes that human history might not be a straight line at all, but perhaps a series of cycles, with peaks of advanced knowledge that were later lost, forgotten, or deliberately suppressed, only to be painstakingly rediscovered millennia later. We are not necessarily the pinnacle of human achievement. We might simply be the latest chapter in a long and complex story of discovery and amnesia. This isn't about replacing one fantasy with another, like attributing these feats to extraterrestrials or supernatural forces. The real story is far more compelling because it is entirely human. It's about recognizing that intelligence manifests in different ways across different cultures and eras. Our modern civilization excels at digital technology, combustion engines, and splitting the atom, a path of external mechanical innovation. The ancient builders, by contrast, may have perfected a science of integration, a profound understanding of how to work with the innate energies and materials of the living planet. Their genius wasn't in conquering nature, but in collaborating with it. They weren't primitive. They were simply sophisticated in a way that we have forgotten how to be, masters of a bio-spiritual technology that leaves no obvious fossil record beyond the impossible stones themselves. The implications of this paradigm shift ripple far beyond academic debates in archaeology departments. If these ideas gain broader acceptance, they could revolutionize entire fields of study. History textbooks would need to be rewritten to account for this lost epoch of geophysical innovation. Archaeology would have to expand its toolkit beyond carbon dating and artifact analysis to include geophysics, acoustics, and advanced materials science, fundamentally changing how we investigate and interpret ancient sites. Even physics could be transformed, as the documented effects at these sites might point to previously unknown properties of matter and energy, or novel ways of harnessing fundamental forces. This isn't just about changing the past, it's about opening new doors for our future. Most importantly, this revised history offers us something desperately needed, a new old way of seeing our place in the world. For generations, our relationship with the Earth has been largely extractive and domineering. We see the planet as a resource to be used, a challenge to be overcome. The philosophy embedded within these magnetic monuments suggests a radically different model, one of sacred reciprocity and harmonious exchange. The ancient builders viewed the Earth not as a dead rock, but as a living partner, a source of wisdom and energy to be respectfully engaged with. Their greatest architectural achievements stand as permanent invitations to this way of being, demonstrating that true advancement isn't about how much we can take from the world, but how elegantly we can integrate with its natural systems. This lost knowledge might hold the very keys to solving some of our most pressing modern problems. The concept of piezoelectric buildings that generate their own electricity from ambient vibrations could revolutionize sustainable architecture. Understanding how to naturally amplify and channel Earth's energies could lead to new, clean forms of power. Their holistic approach to design, blending astronomy, geology, and spirituality, provides a blueprint for creating environments that enhance human well-being rather than depleting it. By looking back with fresh eyes, we might find the inspiration to move forward more wisely, building a future that is not only technologically advanced but also spiritually whole and ecologically balanced. The silent stones of the ancients challenge us to expand our definition of progress and to remember that the greatest human resource has always been our innate capacity to listen to and learn from the world around us. The mysteries of magnetic monuments remind us that history is not a closed book but a living, breathing story still being written, filled with untold chapters of human ingenuity and a hidden wisdom we are only just beginning to decipher. From the silent, imposing pyramids of Giza to the windswept stone circles of the British Isles, these ancient marvels stand as a permanent challenge to our modern assumptions. They urge us to look beyond the surface of cut stone and see a far more profound truth, a deep and symbiotic connection between humanity and the very energies of the earth itself. These builders were not primitive, they were pioneers of a different kind of science, one that wove together the practical, the spiritual, and the celestial into a seamless and awe-inspiring whole. As we continue to explore and research with ever more sensitive tools and open minds, we stand on the brink of incredible discoveries. The emerging field of archaeophysics is giving us the language to finally understand what the ancients knew intuitively. We may soon uncover techniques and principles that beautifully blend hard science with spiritual reverence, offering a model of sustainability that is not about minimizing our footprint, but about harmonizing with the planet's natural rhythms. This rediscovered knowledge has the power to inspire future generations of architects, engineers, and visionaries, guiding us toward a future where our buildings don't just take from the environment, but actively participate in it, generating energy, enhancing well-being, and honoring the sacred connection between the earth and those who walk upon it. This journey doesn't end when the video does, it continues with you. I am genuinely curious to hear your thoughts and personal experiences in the comments below. Have you ever visited one of these powerful sites and felt something unusual, a tingling sensation, a wave of emotion, or a profound sense of peace? Your stories are a vital part of this ongoing exploration. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into history's greatest enigmas, please show your support by subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. Thank you for your curiosity, for your time, and for joining me on this remarkable journey to rediscover the lost secrets written